Here we are again, take two. So for anybody watching this, I'll have to explain and apologise. So we did record this interview last week, and then clever me, can't fathom technology, managed to lose all the sound. So we're back again.
And can I just say, I was fantastic.
You were amazing.
Yeah, I'm probably going to be rubbish now.
I don't know.
I had a glass of Prosecco. I was very relaxed, but now I haven't got a Prosecco. I'm a little bit tired, so hey.
Well, you're still looking amazing though.
Well, I haven't been to bed since we last spoke.
Have you now? You've been partying it up in Swindon.
Partying on my own.
So remind us where are you now?
Right, well, I'm back in London now, having spent nearly 3 months down in Wales looking after my mum, who's 81, and she had a very nasty fall back at the beginning of March. She fractured her arm and her shoulder in 3 places. So I went down to spend some time with her to look after her for Mother's Day, and I ended up staying nearly 3 months because of the lockdown. But it was actually really lovely because I got to spend some real quality time with my mum, and also spend some quality time in Swansea, which is my hometown. You know, I haven't spent that long there since I was around 16. So it was a chance for me to revisit a lot of areas that I hadn't really seen or whatever since I was a teenager. So it was lovely, actually. I missed home, I missed my house, but funnily enough, I'm back now just over a week, and I'm missing Swansea. I'm missing my mum, and I'm also missing, I used to go to the beach every day, because it's only like a 5-minute quick drive in my car to the beach, and I took my little dog, Dottie, down the beach every day. And that was a sort of lovely way to just clear the cobwebs, and yeah, just a bit of time for me to think about what's happening, and and sort of re-energize myself again. I love the beach. Having been born by the sea, I think you're always drawn to it. And as much as I love London, I do miss the coastline, having it there for if and when you need it. And the older I'm getting, the more I'm missing it, the more I'm sort of drawn more to nature in a way. So I'm sort of missing that at the moment. If I could just lift my house, take it down there with all my lovely neighbours and friends, that would be perfect. But I'm on my own here. As in Wales, I had my mum. So I'm sort of missing that everyday sort of human contact. But, you know, we have Zoom and FaceTime, and I've got, you know, I'm lucky I've got an outside space. I've got a lovely garden. So, you know, I know how lucky I am. But I guess it's just one of those times where I'm up one day and I'm down the next. I had a bit of a down day yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was missing friends and missing, you know, performing. And
yeah.
Not missing performing as much as missing everything else that goes around it, the camaraderie and the, you know, just that buzz you get.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I suddenly thought yesterday, when will I be singing again or performing again? I wonder when it'll be. And the funny thing is, you know, in our career, we get that the whole time. I don't know where my next job is coming from, you know, from one month or year, whatever, to the next. So I'm used to that in a way. But because you're sort of in control in a way then, though. You're still in control, whereas now it's out of our control.
Yeah.
We can't control it. So we can't, like, I'm in a lucky position where I can more or less pick and choose the work I do now. But I can't because there's no work there. So in a way, it's, and I'm starting to rethink my life, you know, because a lot of us might have to do that for a while anyway.
Yeah.
So, and that's not just financially, it's mentally as well and emotionally. I like to have things to do, you know. There's only so many times you can, you know, rearrange a cupboard and...
find the biscuits.
And, oh, did you see that?
Yeah.
You know what? I made biscuits, and I have to say they were really, really nice. And this morning, I think I had another 3. I've got to stop it now because I know I can make them, and everything's there. It's dangerous, you see. I just, there's no excuse.
I've been doing so much baking. I did a red velvet cake the other day, and
Have you done the banana bread yet? Because everyone's done banana bread.
My mum made one a couple of weeks ago, so I kind of left. I did. The farmer gave us some rhubarb, so I did a rhubarb loaf, which was.
Hang on a minute, farmer, where do you live?
We live in Cumbria, so we've got we're miles and miles.
Lovely.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I
See,
skip.
it's lovely. And I think that's so important at the moment to keep farmers,
Yeah.
you know, and the small shops and communities, you know, keep them afloat. Buy from them, you know, rather than the big stores and that, you know. But to be able to go to a farm shop is lovely. So you had rhubarb.
Yeah, rhubarb and custard loaf. It was nice though. It turned out quite well in the end. I did 2 goes. The first attempt wasn't so good, but the second one was alright.
It's good.
So let's go back to the beginning of the year. So you started off, you were in Manchester at the Royal Exchange.
Yeah, it was. It was a Gypsy, wonderful production in the round, which was a first, I think, for that show. And it was thrilling, actually, because you sort of didn't have to worry in a way where you played. You know,
Yeah.
you just, I mean, you did. You had to make sure you included everyone. But it was like...
Was that the first time for you performing in the round?
I'd done Cats years ago, sort of in the round.
Yeah.
But this was much closer.
Yeah.
I mean, right up there. So you know, you see warts and all. There's no hiding in that space.
And there's no hiding in that role either. That's a...
No, it's a tough role. You know, it really is a tough role. My hat goes off to any woman that's played it before. It's a tough role. It's a marathon of a role, especially the first act. And then, of course, you know that you've still got, you know, you've got Rose's turn right at the end of the show after that big scene before with Louise, which is very emotional and heightened and dramatic. And you know you've still got Rose's turn to come, so you had to pace. If you didn't pace, you know, then you'd burn out by the end of Act 1. So it was a learning curve for me every show. Unfortunately, I was very ill there, and I very, very rarely ever miss shows, and I missed quite a lot, and that was very hard for me, very hard. But I had very bad chest infection. I'm wondering now, was it the dreaded?
Right.
No, but I don't know, because
Yeah.
I was in an asthma pump, which I've never ever had. You know, so I don't know. When the antibody tests, we can have them. I will have one done just to see, because it was different to what I've ever had before. So, but it was a wonderful company and a wonderful role. One I'd love to do again. I have to admit, I'd love to play her again, and maybe this time in a proscenium.
Yeah.
But it's one of those roles that was always on my list, but you know, I was never old enough, and so to be able to say, tick, that's another one off my list is thrilling. I remember seeing the film years ago with Rosalind Russell, and she's just amazing. She was, to me, my favourite Rose, definitely. She's such a wonderful actress, and you really believe that in her youth she could have been a star, because she was, you know, there's something about her, her charisma and her aura, the way she held herself when she did Rose's turn at the end of the film. You were like, yeah, I get it now. It's, you know, it could have been, should have been her.
So I wanted to ask how you got into the industry, because you didn't train when you were younger, did you? You didn't go to drama school?
No, I went to a local dancing school, tap dancing school, where we do pantomimes and, sing around the old people's homes and do variety shows and everything. But it was just a hobby, really. It was my third birthday present, a pair of tap shoes, and my first class at the Phyllis Jones School of Tap Dancing in a little church hall in Swansea. And it was just a hobby. Both my parents were involved in show business to an extent. My mum won a scholarship when she was 18 to train at the Royal College of Music in London, where she trained for 3 years in piano and singing. And my dad used to do the clubs, the social clubs, and around Wales for about 25 years. And they met at the Grand Theatre in Swansea, local theatre, because my mum's friend was ill. And so she asked my mum to step in for her to accompany this singer. and the singer was my dad, and they met and
Ah.
found out. And then my mum went to London, was terribly homesick, because London back then seemed miles and miles away. And she was terribly homesick, and after her 3 years, she went back to Swansea and gave it all up and married my dad, and that was it. But she then joined a local sort of amateur company where they did all the Gilbert and Sullivan musicals. So I grew up with listening to them, and my mum was a big film buff. So any films, especially the musicals, the old musicals, Rodgers and Hammerstein, and all the big films, she'd say, "Come watch this, you love this one," you know. So I was introduced to musical theatre at a very early age, and my mum always said if she had her time again, she would have loved to have done musicals as opposed to the more classical side, which she trained in. She was a mezzo-soprano.
Okay.
She sang at the Royal Albert Hall for the Queen Mum. She was really good. You know, I've got an old record of hers as well. Beautiful voice, but she was just a home girl and just wanted to be home. And you know, but she has said in the past, "Oh yeah, I think I would have enjoyed musicals more, less stuffy." She said back then.
And does she still get to travel to come up to Manchester and see your shows or wherever you are?
Yeah, she came to the last night. She came to the last night, and I was so delighted because I didn't think she was going to be able to make it because it's hard, you know, it's travelling all the way up from Swansea. But a friend brought her up in the car, and I was so delighted. And it's funny because when we were researching the show and, you know, about the relationship between Mama Rose and Louise, I did a lot of research and reading up, you know, and there was quite a lot of similarities in the bizarre. Not that Mum was, but that sort of, I don't know, there was, and I sort of understood my mum more after researching mother and daughter relationships. I sort of understood her more, and I think my relationship with my mum has improved since I played that role.
Wow.
Yeah, because I understood her more.
Yeah.
And so to have her there in the audience was wonderful, and the whole company, you know, were delighted for me as well, because we shared so much as a company, personal things about relationships with our mums. We all sat around a table for a week and discussed the show and talked about personal experiences and relationships with mums, and it's like an open therapy session, really.
Yeah.
So we got to know each other, you know, we were quite close to start with. So, you know, and to have my mum there and wait until the last night was pretty special, yeah. So
Amazing. So let's go right back. So you were the youngest ever Peron at the time. I think you were 19, weren't you, when you first played her?
I was 18 when I auditioned and got the role, and then 19 when I played her. I think someone said there is somebody now that has played her young. I don't know. But all I know is that I was pretty young. And funnily enough, I don't think it hit me then, the enormity of the role and the experience. I'm working with the Hal Prince.
Yes.
It was so lovely. I always remember in my audition, my recall. Back then, you only had like 2 auditions maximum. You'd audition, recall, and then you told. Whereas now you can go back 9 times, 10 times. But back then, it was like you auditioned, they recalled you, and you either got the job or you didn't. And on my recall, Hal Prince was there, and he came up to the front of the stage at the Prince Edward Theatre where the auditions were, because it was still on then. Vita was still running at the theatre in London, and that's where they held the auditions. And he came to the front of the stage and said, I just said to Bob, you know, why haven't we seen you before? Where have you been? And then he's just told me your age, and I said, that'll be why. She was in school. But funny enough, I'd auditioned for The Mistress about 3 years previous to that. And they said I wasn't right for The Mistress, but I was definitely future Ava Peron material, you know. But you just think, oh, well, that was very nice of them to say that. And lo and behold, 3 years later, I get a letter in Swansea at my mum's address, headed notepaper, still got the letter, Vita, saying, we saw you 3 years ago for The Mistress. We'd love to invite you to audition for the role of Alternative Peron. And I thought that was amazing because, you know, that was before computers, before social media where your name keeps popping up. They had put me in, obviously, in a file and thought, oh, I wonder now, she'd be 3 years older. I wonder if she's right now for a Vita. So that was nice. So, Yeah, and that was my sort of big break, I think. I mean, I left home at 16 to play the narrator in Joseph. That was my first job for Bill Kenwright. But when people say to me, what was my big break? I guess it was Evita, Hal Prince's production. That was, and I guess as wonderful as it was, the pressure was off me in a bit because Catherine Evans was the main Ava. I did two a week, and then if she was off, I would do the week, or if she was on holiday. And that. So at that age, it was the perfect opportunity, really, because I wasn't singing 8 shows a week because my voice was still young. And they offered me the tour afterwards. They offered me to go on tour. And I thought, you know what, I've done it for a year. I've done the role now. I don't know whether my voice touring is still quite young. I thought, so I turned it down. And I'm so glad I did, because I then got offered Chess in town. And that was my first West End show. And I didn't even audition. That was very lucky. I literally crossed over with Jackie Scott, who was in Chess. So she crossed over and took over alternate Ava on tour. And I jumped into her shoes in Chess in town. And that was my first sort of show. But my big break, I would say, definitely Evita. Yeah.
And you mentioned, so Joseph was your first show. You're going to be part of the brand new concert version, the All-Star concert.
I know, and I was excited to see it as everybody else, because when I was first asked to do it, it's such a special show to me, because I did it in school like nearly everyone else. And then, as I say, I did it when I was 16, and then I did the new version one, the Palladium one with Philip Schofield that went on tour. I did the tour for a year. And it's just been one of those shows that's always come back to me. It's always come back. And so it was lovely to be asked, because there's hundreds of people that have done it. And they just, I think there's a selection of narrators and Josephs, and we've just split the lines up. But it's so funny, because I recorded it at my mum's house in Swansea. And I didn't have any headphones with me or anything. So Lacey sent me some headphones so I could at least record, and so it's on my phone with no proper microphone, with no proper lighting, in my mum's living room, with my mum literally popping in every so often saying, "Have you finished yet?" Well, no, I was just about to, and now I got to start all over again because you've ruined it. So that kept happening. Then my dog would start barking, so I had to start again. I would love to have watched the video.
The outtakes.
Of me trying to the outtakes. It took forever, and then the light went. So I was like, I'll have to do it again tomorrow. So I had to do it tomorrow. And it was just, it was just fun. So I don't know what it's personally. I don't know how I'm gonna look, but maybe with the magic of technology. But no, I think it's lovely, and it's a wonderful charity, Acting for Others.
Yes, yes.
14 other charities, many of which are dear to my heart. So it was an important charity, yeah.
Well, I saw you wearing your T-shirt, The Show Must Go On.
Of course. Aren't they lovely?
They're beautiful. I got one as well.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
I want a hoodie now.
Yeah, we'll have to get them to wear. I think the orders are coming in for the T-shirts thick and fast, so they're a bit snowed under, but yeah.
Yeah, they are. No, they're lovely, and such a great idea. Funny enough, when I was at home at my mum's, she not long ago moved into a little 1-bedroom cottage because she moved out of the family home where I was born. So there was loads of stuff that we had to sift through, and I found my original tour jacket from Joseph.
Really?
My name in it, and the original logo on the back, all embroidered. Beautiful.
Wow.
I don't think I wore it much. I think I was a little bit embarrassed. I was a bit embarrassed. They're lovely to have. But I don't know. I just feel so. I've got it, and it's special. I've completely forgotten all about it, and it still fits. So yeah, that was lovely to find.
Amazing. Have you been?
It just keeps coming back to me, that show. I'll be playing Jacob now in a few years.
Well, I was going to say, did you see the recent production at the Palladium?
Yes, I was at the opening night.
And what did you think of it?
I thought it was great, another reinvention. It's one of those shows that just keeps on coming back, It's, I loved it, and I loved the kids' involvement in it, and the way they became the narrator and told the story. I thought
Yeah.
that was lovely. I love that touch, including the kids more rather than just sitting them on the side. I thought that was wonderful to include them. And yeah, I thought it was really great. And it's such a feel-good musical, and we need those right now.
Yeah.
We need that music, that feel-good music, Yeah, I loved it.
Are there any other shows you've been seeing before West End went dark, while you were still in town? Was there anything new that you saw that you liked? Did you see Jamie?
Yeah, I loved Jamie. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I want to go back again. When it reopens, I'll go back. Because I want to see the new cast. And I just loved, and I love the fact there were so many young people in the audience. I think that's so important and so supportive of the story, which is wonderful. And I had tickets to see Waitress.
Oh.
Literally on, and it closed before I could see it. So I believe that's one that's not.
Yeah, that won't be coming back now.
That's so sad. Maybe it will. Maybe it will.
Well, it is going on tour. They're taking it on tour, so.
Oh, good. Because my heart goes out. I get quite emotional thinking about all those wonderful people that had auditions, had the recalls, booked their accommodation. I get emotional for them because I know how hard it is when you fight and you get a job and it's wonderful and you start rehearsing and then it's just taken away from you. So cruel, really, and I'm okay. I've had 37 years of wonderful moments, but for people just starting out, and it's this must be a really hard time for them, and I want to sort of look after them, and it'll be okay, but this will be the hardest time for them, just starting out, just booking your first show and then that happening. It's hard. I'm really sad for them, but they're young and they'll get through this and be stronger for it, and theatre will be stronger for it. No one will keep us down. No one will stop us performing, whether we have to go and stand and do productions in the park. I just feel, people, it's going to be different. It's going to be hard, but we're tough. We're made of tough stuff, theatre people. We have to be. Every time we go out on stage, we put ourselves up for criticism. And we're only human. Of course it upsets us sometimes when we read horrible reviews. Now, of course it does. And anyone who says otherwise lies. Of course it does. So we're tough. We're tough-skinned. We have to be. And we'll get through this. I mean, gosh. It's so hard what's happening at the moment, and all those wonderful, wonderful frontline workers. My God, talk about tough. Talk about tough job. Or might say theatre's tough compared to that. It's all relative, I know. But I just admire them greatly. I had breast cancer in 2013 and I had a year of treatment at Guy's and St Thomas's Hospital. I have never felt so safe and looked after during one of the most scariest times of my life, going through that treatment and being sat down in a room and told that. And they made me feel so safe and so protected, and that it was going to be okay. They're wonderful. The NHS is wonderful, and we must fight to keep it always, because it just it's wonderful. It's we need to be so thankful, and we are, and I'm just hoping that they won't have to go through another big wave like they did in the beginning. I'm really hoping for everyone.
Is it something that's playing on your mind? Do you worry about it, or like you say, you're by yourself, so you're keeping safe and well? But is it preying on your mind, or do you just try to?
What, preying on my mind about being on my own?
Yeah, about.
I can be a bit of a hermit, to be honest. I can be a bit of a homebody and a homebod. I can be sometimes lock myself away and not go out for a few days. But I think I am missing knowing that I can't do the things I want to do if I want to do this. The knowing that I can't, I want to do them. I miss that. Yeah, I'm a bit fearful, and I don't like being fearful. I don't like that. You know, I do what I do, and I go out on stage in front of thousands, and I do get nervous. And I worry if I don't get nervous. I do get nervous, but I also hate flying. I hate fairground rides, you know, big dippers and all things like that. I want to like them. I want to not be afraid. But I'm scared. And I think there are times I get scared of this because it's the fear of the unknown. And it's probably all about control as well. I'd be fine if I could fly in the plane. Sure.
How are you coping with social media at the moment? Because it's such a volatile.
I have moments where I just have to come off it.
Yeah.
Because I'll say the wrong thing, or I will get into a debate and just. And yet there are times when it is so uplifting.
Yeah.
And wonderful as well, and so important it's there. But there are times when I think I've been in a good mood and I've gone on social media and I've come off in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And I blame myself for that, for being drawn into it and sucked into it. Thank the Lord it wasn't around when I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
Because I think the things I might have posted or, you know, I just think you have to be so careful. And you have to be so careful because every word is scrutinised these days. And once it's out there, that's it. So it can be dangerous. But I also think it does bring comfort at times as well, to know that you're not the only one feeling like that or going through it.
Yeah.
That's nice. And to know that we're not alone. And I think it's very good for that. But it can also be, be not so nice.
Yeah.
Not so nice. And so I have to tell myself, right, switch off. Or also, you know, I wouldn't say before this I was hugely political. You know, a little bit of knowledge is a bad thing sometimes. But I've actually become, I mean, I was excited about getting up to watch the Andrew Marr show on Sunday. I couldn't wait for that to start. I was up and awake, ready to watch it, you know. And I've been really enjoying some of the political shows on TV, but equally getting really annoyed at some of the things said and done. But and I think, you know, people are finding their voices more. Yeah. And I think because with all the protesting going on at the moment, you know, I think it's really good because I think people have the time now to sit and think and really think about it rather than get caught up in everyday life. I think everyone's just sitting, thinking about things more.
And reading and learning and educating.
Reading and learning and watching. I think that's really good. Me included, I think it's really good. So I think things are happening in the world now that probably wouldn't be happening if it hadn't been for lockdown and COVID and everything. Try to think of the positive out of the negative, you know, because sometimes I think I can't watch the news. It depresses me. But also try and take a positive from it.
Yeah.
That things are moving forward, you know, which is good because change is needed. We've needed to change for years. And I think this has enabled us to start that change. And it's up to us now to continue it in the right way.
And I've seen you've been signing petitions and retweeting, and so
yeah,
it's an important thing, isn't it?
I think it absolutely. You know, it's so easy for us to sign a petition. You know, but it's important when, you know, it is important to just keep things up front in the news. Don't let things pass. You know, I just hope when this is all over, when it's all over, we will remember to support the NHS and fight for fair pay and what they deserve and have deserved for years. You know, I hope me include, and I include this myself in this. I hope we remember this and fight for them when they need us to fight for them.
Yeah.
As opposed to them fighting for us at the moment, we need to then fight for them. and I must remember that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Look at your dimples.
I know, cute, aren't they?
Look
I
at
had a
them.
bit of an accident with my hair clippers this morning, so my hair's a lot shorter than it was.
Oh, cheesy though. It
Just
looks
looks a
cute.
bit. But, thank you.
A little
Um,
bit jealous of the gold curtain behind. I'm gonna have to
I
get that.
know, it's brilliant, isn't it?
I have a really good backdrop for Zoom, but we couldn't get that working. So next time I'll have a lovely diamonds
So I wanted to
backdrop.
ask you, have you kind of, because I've not seen you do much online content, videos or concerts and stuff. Have you been approached by many, or have you just been turning them down?
I was approached weeks ago to do leave the light on.
Yes.
Right at the beginning, but because I was down in Swansea and I didn't have, I just wasn't in the environment. I was in a little 4-roomed cottage, and it just wasn't right. I didn't have my things around me, my microphone, nothing. And I just thought I'd rather not than do something that I was, not pleased with. And maybe, lots of my friends have been saying, "Oh, will you do an evening at home or something like that?" And I might do. I've enjoyed doing the Joseph concert, and I've done some lovely Q&As. But that's all. I haven't done any. No, I haven't done any at home concerts. I might do when I'm in the mood.
And when you're not...
If enough people want me to, I will.
Oh, I'm sure they do.
Well, no, I don't mean. I'm not saying that for people to say will do it. I just, there's so many people doing them.
Yeah.
That I think people are inundated, and I think you should do them when you feel the need to, or for a particular charity or something. So yeah.
And because you've done a lot of concerts, like all around the world.
Yeah, I've been lucky that in between musicals, in between my theatre work, I've done many concerts around the world. I've done a lot in Denmark, and I've done about 3 or 4 albums in Denmark, and they have many orchestras there. And about 10, 15 years ago, they had many classical singers, but they didn't have many musical theatre singers from Denmark. So they used to, get a lot of people in from the UK. So I did many years ago. Now there are many more Danish musical theatre performers, which is great, which is how it should be. But it was just lovely to have about 10, 15 years of work there every year, where the orchestras would do their summer concerts, and they'd always have a classical night, and then they'd have a lighter sort of musical theatre night, and I go over and do a lot of them. And then Singapore, I've done a lot, South Africa, China, Shanghai, I've been 3, 4 times, concerts there.
And what songs do you usually put in your playlist?
If I'm with the orchestra, I do the sunsets. There's If We Never Say Goodbye, With One Look, Don't Rain on My Parade, Being Alive, and then what else have I done? Losing My Mind, Wherever He Ain't, Time Heals Everything, I Am What I Am. Lots of,
Do you ever get tired of singing any of them? Or fed up of them?
I did get tired after many, many years of singing Memory.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the songs. I did the show for 2 years originally, singing that song night after night. And there's such pressure because everyone knows that song. And it's right at the end of the show. So you've got that whole wait through the whole show to sing that song. And you have to sing it perfect, really, or as perfect as you can, 8 times a week. And that was a lot of pressure. I was quite young then. I was 21 when I played Westerwelle, and I did that for 2 years, and then I went back to it 10 years later. But I've sung it many times in concerts, and it was just it's a hard song, it's a hard song. And the older I'm getting, your register drops, lowers. I mean, I listen to some of the recordings now, and my belt voice, I could do an F, no problem. Now, not so much, nowhere near an F, but I wouldn't really want to. I've done that, and my voice is older now. I'm in my 50s, and your voice changes, and I have much more of a lower timbre to the voice now.
And tell me again about the story about when you had a special guest in the audience come to see you at Cats.
Oh, one of my idols, Shirley Bassey. I love her, and I've since worked with her a couple of times. I did a Royal Variety show with her, and I did the opening of the Welsh Assembly with her. And yeah, I never like to know when someone's in the audience. I tell my friends, don't tell me when you're in. I don't want to know. I never like to know if someone's in. I like to be focused and think, I'm doing the best I can do that night. And if I know someone's in, I try too hard and then it all goes. I just don't like knowing. So I was in Cats and I got a phone call about 2:00 in the afternoon from the stage door girl, Jo. She said, Ria, I had to call you. You never guessed who's in tonight. I said, oh, no. I don't like to know. No, you really, I can't. You have to know. I said, Jo, I don't want to know. She said, I can't keep it in. It's Shirley Bassey. Well, from 2:00 till the time I went on stage, I think I was on the loo more than I was. So nervous. And at the end of Act 1, you sing a little bit of Memory, and that's the end of Act 1. I go back to my dressing room. And there's a call. Can Ria Jones go to the VIP room, please? Ria Jones, the VIP room. Of course, all the cast going, you're going to meet her. And I was like, oh my God. And I walked in to the VIP room, and there she was, the end of the room. And she was like, oh, darling, come here. You're flying the flag for Wales. You're flying the flag for us in Wales, blah, blah. She was so lovely. And she said, let me try your coat on. I had my Grisabella coat on, and we were laughing and joking. She was so lovely. I said, I was so nervous. She said, what are you nervous for? What are you nervous for? I said, because, you're my idol. I just, I can't believe. And she said, go out there and sing that song for me. Go out there and sing it just for me. I said, okay. Anyway, it came to the song, and I really put my heart and soul into it, a bit of Welsh oil. And I finished it, and I was, and she stood up and clapped, give me a big kiss, and I was like, oh, life made. It was lovely. And then, years later, I did a Royal Variety show, and I heard her chatting next door to Ronnie Corbett, and I thought, I wonder if she'll remember me. I want to go and say hello. And I knocked the door, and I said, oh, hello, Miss Bassey, I don't know whether you remember. She went, Ria, how are you, darling? Come in. So it was, lovely.
And we've got to talk about Sunset Boulevard, because I didn't even know this myself, that you were originally worked on the workshop. So back in the...
Yeah, I was the first ever person to sing the role. And funnily enough, I was going through all my paperwork, my files, my old programs. I keep a lot of stuff. And there was a letter that I'd forgotten I had from Andrew Lloyd Webber that thanked me for bringing Norma Desmond to life.
Wow.
Bringing Norma Desmond to life and some other nice things. And on an old typewriter with Sidmington and the date. So I thought, oh, that's special, that is. I'm going to frame that now. Now, it seems right I'm proud of that. Because, little did I know then what was going to happen 26 years later.
Yeah.
Because I always knew, I don't kid myself, I always knew they're going to get a big star to play Norma. So I, would probably never get to play it. And then the Glenn Close story happened, and then I did the tour. And I was so, special time, to play her 26 years later in my own right, having been the first to sing her was,
So when it was announced that Glenn Close was going to do it at the Coliseum, how did you then get involved in it? Was something that you asked if you could be...
No.
Or did they approach you?
No, I was... I had to audition for
Right.
stand-up. Yeah, and my friends thought I was mad. He said, what are you auditioning for? Standby, and you've played all these roles in your own right. And I said, but it's not every day you... it's not every day you have the chance to work with a Hollywood A-lister. And I just thought it would be a fantastic opportunity for me to watch somebody like that work, be that in a room, and, I learned so much. And also because I'd been ill, for that year, it was a great way for me to dip my toes back in the water, you know. So I was, when they offered it to me, I said, yeah, I'll do it, because the pressure would be off me in a way. I would be getting you know, a chance to work with Glenn Close and watch her closely, and it was a way back into the business without the pressure, and also revisit the role again. Here it played with a full orchestra, wonderful cast, in the most stunning theatre. It was one of my happiest jobs. And, you know, when I went on for those 4 shows, you know, a lot of people said, oh, you'll never go on. I said, I don't care. I didn't take the job for that reason. If I got on, well, you know, that would be the cherry in the cake. It'd be nice to say I've played it with that, I've sung it with that orchestra in that building. But, you know, you can't think like that. But of course, I was on, and you know, and you also have to remember the reason I went on was somebody was ill.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, and you must remember that. You must respect that. You know, and I know what that's like, not being able to perform because you're ill, and it's a part you love and you want to do and you want to be well. It's hard. So you have to remember that as well. You can't wallow in, you know, in things because somebody's poorly. Anyway, but the show also must go on. And, you know, and there were boos, and we want our money back. And I knew that would happen. And I turned my tannoy down, and I thought, well, I can't take that personally, because they don't know me from a bar of soap. So it's not at me, it's at the situation. And I get it. I understand that. You know, if I paid to see one of my idols, Julie Andrews, and I paid a lot of money to see her, and suddenly she wasn't on, I'd be disappointed. I wouldn't shout, can I have my money back, or boo. I wouldn't do that, because you respect everyone else in the show that's going to be doing, you know, a fantastic job. So, but I got it. But somebody had to go out, somebody had to do it. The show must go on. And I knew I was ready. And I'd had 2 3-hour rehearsals. That's all I got to stage it, block it. I hadn't had a costume fitting, and I hadn't sung it through with the orchestra at all. So it was just one of those, you're thrown on. But I think that's sometimes the best way. You haven't got too much time to, you know, your mind play tricks with you and start doubting yourself, and you worry too much if you know you. I prefer in that situation certainly to be just thrown on. You haven't got time to think about it. All you need to do is focus on the job in hand. And I knew I just had to go on there and win them over, you know, and I had to stay true to that character, Norma Desmond. And what was on my side was that I was coming out and they were seeing Norma Desmond as opposed to Glenn Close playing Norma Desmond, because they didn't know me. They could maybe just see me as Norma Desmond, the character. And so I knew I had to sing and act my heart out. And after With One Look, which is the first song Norma sings within minutes of being on stage, they went mad. They went absolutely crazy. And the relief in one way, but also I thought, okay, I've got them on my side. I've got to keep them with me now. And this is just the first part. Just keep focused, scene by scene. The company were amazing. The most supportive company. They were wonderful. And and also I'd been standing in the wings every show. I didn't miss a show. The only show I missed in the wings was when I watched out front once, because I thought, if I am going to be thrown on, I want to know these people I'm on stage with. I want to feel they've seen me every night. I've been part of it every night. And that's how I felt when I went on. I felt I was just stepping on, and I knew them, rather than sitting in my room every night. You know, it was good. It was. I'll never forget it. It's actually on YouTube. My curtain call and the booing, and then it's funny. There's 2. There's one the first night I was announced of going on for Glenn, and this last night, and the difference was quite incredible, because by the Saturday, people were ringing up to see if I was going to be on.
Wow.
Because word of mouth and press, and you know, everyone loves the underdog story.
Yeah.
Everyone loves, you know, and also the support I got from the West End, all the performers. Well, I felt it. I felt they were with me. The support I got. I know people say, "Oh, overnight I became overnight." People knew I'd been doing it for 37 years. And like a lot of people, schlepping around the country, working hard, and then to just get that recognition for 4 shows, it was worth it all. Yeah, and I was at the right place at the right time, the right show. So that doesn't happen often. I often say you can spend your whole career waiting for that one role that will show you off at your best. That will suit you, that will suit your voice, you're the right age, everything, all the cards are in place. And for me, that was Sunset at the Coliseum. Mentally, I was in the right place. I was hungry again because I'd spent that year going through, the treatment and everything. So I was hungry for it again. Because you can become a bit jaded at times, I won't lie. It does become hard sometimes, like you're wading through treatment. But I was hungry. That was a plus. I was the right age. That was a plus. It was a role I knew I could sing well. That was a plus. And it was one that I have history with. Plus. And I was in the West End. Plus. I was in a show that all eyes were on the Coliseum because of Glenn Close. So all the stars were aligned in the right place for me. And that was the highlight of my career without a shadow of a doubt.
And it's been an incredible career, because also one of your favourite shows I know you were telling me about was Acorn Antiques.
Oh.
And working with another one of your idols.
I think I've talk about going from one character. I mean, from Ava Peron to Mrs. Overall, or from Norma to Miss Overall. Do you know what I mean? Imagine them getting mixed up.
Yeah.
Norma with a hump. But yeah, I know. I love that I've had such a diverse career. I think that's been great, and I love comedy. I love to make people laugh. I love to make my friends laugh. I love laughing. I love being silly. I love laughing at myself. And so to work with Victoria Wood, who was growing up, those sketches, those shows with her and Julie Walters and the team, they were brilliant, I knew every line. So I was terrified, but so excited to work with her. And she was tough cookie. But I loved her. And I learned so much from her, and we became good friends, and she's very loyal. She was very loyal to me. And I always said I'd love to do it again. And I would. It's one role I'd love to play again. I had such fun. And for once in my life, I didn't really have to worry about my voice. Vic would say, don't sing it so well. You don't. At the end of Macaroons, when I sing the big note, automatically I would want to, she said, so I used to take, which is a no-no normally. I used to take a breath in the middle of the in the middle of the long note, just to, but it was such a great, wonderful time. Again, another highlight. Sadly, Vic passed away the day before I went on for Glenn in Sunset, and my mate Stephen Mear came to tell me in the dressing room the day before, and we were both so gutted and upset, and what a loss. And but in a way, it sort of kept me grounded, because although I was very nervous, I just kept thinking of Vic, and I thought, I know what's happened. She's got up there and right, let's get this to Norma Desmond, and she has something to do with it, I swear. And I know if she'd been alive and well, she'd have been there supporting me in the front row. She loved musicals, and so I did it for her. That first one as well was for Vic. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I miss her.
Incredible. And also, speaking of Victor Victoria was mentioned recently. I think it was Westerwelle was talking about they'd love to see a revival. And you, of course, did a European premiere.
Yeah, it was a very small production, Fringe, the Bridewell Theatre, you know, and to do a show like that in a small venue is, you know, it was great actually. It worked really well. But again, it was one of those roles I would have liked to have revisited in a larger space with a big orchestra, and you know, because it's a fantastic score and a wonderful story, and those songs. Oh, but yeah, it was a lovely production actually, and that was a challenge of a role. But yeah, I love the film as well. I only watched it the other day, about 3 weeks ago, and forgotten how good it is. So funny, brilliantly cast.
Have you been watching a lot of TV and films while you've been in lockdown?
Yes. My mum doesn't have Netflix or anything like that, so I haven't been watching much, but I do love, like, I love Schitt's Creek.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, I just absolutely love it, and the characters just brilliant. And I've loved Killing Eve. I love Normal People. So I've been, you know, watching a lot of those series and stuff. I love films. I've been rewatching films that make me feel good. I said to my mum one day, you know, the news was so, and I said, "You've got the box set of That's Entertainment, haven't you?" She said, "Yes, we did. We watched the box set of That's Entertainment, part 1, 2, 3. And it's, oh, you know, to see Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, and it's escapism, isn't it?
Yeah.
We all need it. We all, even performers, need escapism. You know, we all need to switch off and just get lost in all that lovely old time, old school glamour and performing. Yeah. We enjoyed it. We enjoyed watching that together. So yeah.
Are there any roles that you'd like to revisit?
I would like to revisit. Definitely, I'd love to do Norma again.
Yeah.
Having toured with it, and it was hard. It was weekly touring, and it's you know, I did all the 8 shows a week, and that was hard at times. But I loved the role. As soon as you got on stage, it was, you know, fine. I'd love to revisit her again, because I got such a lot out of playing her. I'd love to do Mrs. Overall again, because, like I say, I love comedy, and I haven't done enough comedy, and I would love to do more. So I'd love to play her again, and I would love to play Mama Rose again, because you know, we did 6 weeks, and I just think I'd love to do a longer run of her, and roles that, you know, it's funny, I love Hello Dolly, and I love the music. It's not a role that I'm desperate to play. I saw Bette Midler on Broadway and loved it. You know, it was just pure Broadway musical theatre. It was just joyful. But a great role. The thing is, when you reach my age, there aren't that many roles to play. You've got, I think, ones that I've sort of got left that I could play are Dolly, Mame, Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd, Miss Hannigan in Annie. They're ones that I haven't played that I think I could play. So who knows? Or maybe there'll be a role one day that I'll create from scratch. It's only happened to me once. I created a role in a lovely musical in Singapore called A Twist of Fate. Anthony Drew wrote the lyrics, and a guy called Dick Lee, who was Singapore's answer to Cliff Richard, wrote the music.
Oh, wow.
Great. Is that really? The CDs. You can buy the CD. It's called A Twist of Fate, and it's based on a true story of a young girl that was found on the steps of Raffles Hotel, called Emma West. She was mixed race, and she grew up, and she went back in England, and she goes back to Singapore to find out who her family were there. And it's a comedy. It's a sort of a sort of spoof whodunit musical, murder mystery musical. It's great fun. A Twist of Fate, and I played Emma West, the young girl. So that was lovely to do. I love working in Singapore. I love, because the actors are so passionate because it's such a hard profession over there. It doesn't pay that well. It's a very expensive place to live.
Right.
So most of the actors out there are doctors and lawyers by day and actors by night. So they're there for the right reasons. They're there because they love to do it, and so their passion and energy is contagious. When I first worked there, I was like, oh my God, I came back. I was so uplifted, by their passion and energy. You forget sometimes over here that we, me included, I forget sometimes how lucky I am. Yeah.
You did Into the Woods out there, didn't you?
Yes, I did, at the Esplanade Theatre. Beautiful theatre. Yeah, I did play the witch in Into the Woods, and that's another role I'd love to revisit, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. I haven't done much Sondheim at all. I did a little night music, and at the Leicester Haymarket, I played Petra. And I'd love to do Follies. That's my favourite Sondheim musical.
Yes.
I love to do Follies. I saw it when I was younger, when I was 21, when I was in Cats. It was across the road at the Shaftesbury Theatre with Julie Mackenzie and Diana Rigg and I just fell in love with Julie Mackenzie. I had the biggest girl crush on her. I wouldn't believe. I was so infatuated with her. I mean, she was brilliant. Brilliant actress, wonderful singer, and great comedy bones too. I absolutely loved that production. When Dolores Gray came on and sang I'm Still Here, I was just beside myself.
That's such a good song, isn't it?
Oh, and then I saw Eartha Kitt do it. Sadly, I didn't see the national one live. I saw it on film, which I loved. I just love the music and the story behind it, Because you know how Sondheim apparently got the idea was the photograph he saw of Gloria Swanson. There's a fabulous photograph of Gloria Swanson in a gorgeous evening gown standing amidst the rubble of a theatre on stage. And he saw that photo and he got the idea of Follies from that photograph. And again, it's a great show for older women.
Yeah.
Some great parts, in it for older women. And yeah, I worked with Sondheim for 2 weeks years ago. I did a master class with him at St Catherine's College, Oxford. Cameron McIntosh. There was a competition for young writers, and eight were chosen. And the writers spent 2 weeks with Stephen Sondheim working on these new pieces that they'd written. And there were about 8-10 of us performers that would perform the pieces. So that was a great honour, and to sit and listen to Sondheim talk for a few hours, which felt like 10 minutes. It was incredible. It was a real honour. Yeah, I'd love to do Follies, definitely.
Oh, well, it's been a pleasure talking to you again.
You too. Have you got the sound on this?
I've got the sound on this time. I hope it works.
Just can't see me. Yes.
Yeah, we'll just mash the two up.
Yeah. That'd be fun. Brilliant.
But look after yourself, and I will hopefully see you very soon when all this is over.
Yeah, we'll have that cocktail.
Absolutely.
And a bit of rhubarb and custard cake.
Yeah, I'll bring you a slice.
Make me a slice. All right. Lovely to see you.
You too.
Take care. Lots of love. Bye.
Oh, amazing.